My name is Janet Kaup, and I have a practice in Gainesville, Georgia. I started as an employee, actually, with an existing practice. Before I began to work with Padgett, I was a baby. I was actually the youngest Padgett franchise owner at the time I bought my franchise. I was 25 years old. So the biggest first challenge for me was capital. My husband and I married at 22, and then 3 years after we married, here I was in this new house. Like every young couple that buys a house, we had pledged everything we had to get into this mortgage. So capital was the first challenge to overcome. And I was a scrapbooker at the time, and I actually have like 5 or 6 rejection notices from the various banks that I had asked for capital in purchasing the practice. So it was a lesson in perseverance and faith to go through the process of trying to convince a bank that as a 25-year-old person, you were A, qualified, and B, trustworthy that you were gonna repay this debt. And I found my wild card with a local bank that is still my bank to this day. And they were willing to take a chance on me. And obviously as a 25-year-old, I didn't have enough operating capital to quit my job and walk into the office the next day as the owner and have enough capital to pay for everything that needed to be paid for during the transition. And I had a business owner friend who made a personal loan to me at the time to get my legs underneath me. And so that was the biggest challenge that I still remember vividly to this day, was the capital. And the second part of it was just figuring out how to do this as a one-man show from the beginning. I had to learn to hire an assistant from the very beginning, because my practice was already at the level where I couldn't do it all by myself. So I had to learn a lot about human resources, about managing people, managing expectations. And I think that part of it was and continues to be a big challenge, is being the leader of the firm. And in many entrepreneurial stories, we see the same thing play out in the lives of other people. Really great accountant, really great at taxes, really great at all of these things, but figuring out how to get the right team in place, how to equip them, how to train them, how to correct them at times. Those were some of the biggest challenges, learning how to be the leader. As an employee of Padgett, I already had a taste of what this network looked like. I already understood from annual marketing conventions, which I was included in, even as an employee, I was included in those. So I had a taste for the flavor of that camaraderie that came with this organization. I also had exposure to the leadership at the time of the organization and the family-like environment that was present here. And at the time, software was a huge issue, because the PAS software was proprietary. And I had the opportunity as an employee then to hang my own shingle and start my own firm and begin from nothing, and certainly I considered that. But honestly, at the time, the value that came from the relationships within this organization, the proprietary software and systems already being laid out, everything from a marketing perspective was already documented and prepackaged. And all of those things to me had a value that was so much larger than the unknown of walking in to an empty shell and creating my own unique identity. I don't feel like I lost any of my own identity. I feel like it allowed me to expand my identity of who I was, because all of these other base level things were already taken care of. Being young, I didn't know what I didn't know. I was able to tap into that unlimited amount of energy that a person in their 20s has, and really embrace this pure potentiality of what can happen when you create the practice of your dreams, like the lifestyle of your dreams. So I think my youthfulness and my level of energy and my appetite for learning were all things that led to wins. But I think some of the wins were simply being inexperienced and being able to step into this and really take hold of it. Other wins or claims to fame, I feel like, are leading my practice through every single year since 2002 having never had a down or flat year. Even during the recession, there was a year that we grew by like $32, but we had a growth year every single year. And to me, that's huge. And especially when we have the opportunity to see under the hood of other businesses financially, and we know the struggles that others have gone through, and we see cyclical patterns in businesses over time, I think that's a huge win to say that this company, this organization has been on a consistent growth trajectory since day one. I feel like that's huge. Padgett has been a constant contributor to my success over the years, and the relationships that I've built with fellow office owners as well as the support staff at Padgett. I've had the closest mentors of my life have come out of this Padgett experience. Some of the closest friends and partners in believing have come out of this Padgett experience. So there's been a constant access to learning. There's been a constant access to innovation and technology, and there's been a constant access to a little bit of competitive challenge by being part of an organization like this. It's really great to be able to create a report card for yourself based on what other people are doing. And I think when you hang your own shingle, you're so protective of that unique industry or enterprise that you have created that there's not a space for the kind of openness that it takes and the kind of transparency and vulnerability that it takes to really compare yourself objectively to your peers. And I think that this Padgett organization offers that. There's not a question that's too taboo to ask any person in this organization. Everybody is free-flowing with ideas and with support and encouragement, and they're they're excited to learn from each other. They're excited even to share their own struggles, which makes it a place where you can share your struggles and know that the person beside you has probably faced the same thing if they're not facing it currently. I'm always ready to learn what's next and what's new, and keeping the firm on the forefront of being an innovator in the community. I don't want to be last to the table with anything that's coming down the pipe. I don't necessarily want to be first in everything either, but I want to be relevant. I think that's a huge motivator. We don't want to become dated in our practice because the needs of our entrepreneurs are today's needs. They're not necessarily met by yesterday's solutions. So that's a huge motivator. It's also honing my skills as a leader and learning how best to empower the people around me so that I can move out of being a technician and allow other people who were like I was when I was 25 years old to do what they are designed to do. I think that's one of the huge goals is in moving out of the technical role completely and just becoming a motivator and somebody who can empower the staff. I want to be able to spend more time doing the other thing that I feel like I'm really good at is teaching. And I feel like teaching clients is one thing, educating them, boiling something really complex down to something that they can understand has always been motivating to me. Having a client say, nobody's ever explained it to me like that, that's a huge win. So being able to multiply that means that I teach other accountants on staff, I teach other advisors on staff to be able to have those conversations on their own so that it's not me with the deliverable, it's me training the team to give the deliverable. Plug in and plug in deep. If you're going to become a part of a franchised organization, it needs to come with this desire for collaboration. Don't plug into your own self-study. Don't plug into just your own network of friends and colleagues online, but really immerse yourself in the Padgett culture. Devote what it takes to be present in every aspect where there's an opportunity for face-to-face connection among this organization. You should be here. And it doesn't matter what it costs. It doesn't matter what you have to do to get here. Just get here, because that is where the foundation is laid. That's where you're going to pick up so much information that's going to propel you into the future. I remember being very, very young and being at the table with people that I looked up to and people who were receiving awards and people who were movers and shakers in the company at that time, and looking up to them and thinking, I want to be in that position at some point. And you can't have that experience if you're at home, you know, and it's not just about, oh, I'm going to get my CPE the week of tax seminar. It's about what am I going to pick up when I am just hanging out and talking about challenges with my fellow Padgett office owners. That's where a lot of the benefit comes from.